right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Excessive Force 1993. This is going to be another Karate Man recommendation. I'm giving you 5 out of 5 stars. I love this flick. It's got an explosion, some topless scenes, and some very bad lighting, an all-star cast, some police corruption, and some pretty good fight scenes, although the guy who was doing the comedic riff of the movie didn't like Thomas Ian Griffith's mullet, called him a Steven Seagal wannabe dude, and said that it was kind of a generic. He said that it was kind of a generic action movie. I was watching it on YouTube. I'm not going to post the link to the comedic riff version of this because he chops off the rolling credits, which is annoying, and he starts reading from Wikipedia and IMDb, which is a page from my book. What else did he say about? Oh yeah, he said the fight scenes weren't that great compared to Hong Kong movies, which is kind of a false analogy. This is not even in the same genre, really. It's just he's calling it a generic action movie, and yet he's comparing it to Hong Kong action movies. So he sort of contradicts himself in the video. I love this flick. He was complaining about the dark lighting too. All right, Excessive Force. I think he was giving it a 5.3, similar to the IMDb rating. The guy who was doing the comedic riff. Excessive Force is a 1993 U.S. action film. It was directed by John Hess, written, co-produced, and starred by, and music by, Thomas Ian Griffith. I didn't like his other 2 movies too much. This is written. Okay, so this is my 3rd Thomas Ian Griffith movie that I've ever seen, and this is the best one by far. It was released by New Line Cinema, which was a pretty decent film distributor back in the 90s. Despite being panned by critics and becoming a box office bomb, the film had a direct-to-video sequel called Excessive Force 2, Force to Force, Force on Force, 1995, that bears no relation to this film and does not follow its storyline. I don't even know if I have that movie on my list. Did Karate Man recommend Excessive Force 2? I doubt it. Because it doesn't have his favorite action star in it. Shot on location in Chicago between March and April 1992. Excessive Force was released on May 1993. So the movie poster says, you have the right to remain silent permanently. Cool. Thomas Ian Griffith doing his best Steven Seagal ripoff. Terry McCain. Griffith is a detective with the Chicago Police Department. One night, he and his team are involved in a drug bust on the Italian mafia. Burt Young, the Oscar-winning boxing coach. The drug bust ends in a chaotic shootout, and $3 million of the mob's money goes missing. gee, I wonder where it can be. There's kind of a surprise plot twist in the middle. You don't know if James Earl Jones is working for the bad guys. That part was kind of confusing to me. Anyways, little plot hole there. Terry interrogates one of the gangsters and coerces him into admitting that the infamous crime boss, DeMarco, Burt Young, Terry's nemesis, is the one behind the drug exchange. However, because of the excessive force used in obtaining the confession, it doesn't hold up in court, and DeMarco is allowed to walk free. Terry's captain, Devlin, played by the great Lance Henriksen, who is soon to become police chief, tells Terry that he has to get his violent tendencies under control because it has lost them multiple convictions and it hurts Devlin's image. Terry, who lives above his friend Jake's Jones Jazz Club. Terry, who lives above his friend Jake's James Earl Jones Jazz Club, Deja Vu, is separated from his girlfriend, Anna Charlotte Lewis. Oh, she is hot. She's a model. And she shows off her chest in this. Wow. What a knockout. That a lot of F-bombs in this movie, by the way. That night is Terry's birthday, and he notes that she doesn't call. He is also surprised that his fellow detective and friend Dylan doesn't visit or call to acknowledge the occasion. Meanwhile, DeMarco has sent his men to find the missing money, believing it to be in possession of one of the cops from the bust. Their first stop is at Dylan's apartment, where Dylan is kidnapped and his girlfriend is murdered. The following morning, the police investigate Dylan's apartment, assuming him to be dead after discovering his girlfriend's body. She's pretty good looking too. She gets naked in this one. Sort of, from the waist up. Devlin warns Terry to stick closely to his fellow cops, since the mob is likely coming after them next. So you get fooled into believing that Lance Henriksen is the good guy in this. He's not. Dylan's body is discovered in a landfill soon after. A lot of brutal scenes too, like getting whacked in the knees with a baseball bat. That kind of made me feel queasy. This movie's dark. Burt Young is like vicious mobster. And he gets killed, right? Like 40 minutes in, 45 minutes in the movie, halfway through. So you're thinking, okay, what's going on here? Dylan, it keeps twisting and turning. We like the kind of plot twists in this. All right, distributed by New Line Cinema. We mentioned that. We like New Line Cinema on this channel. Release date May 14th, 1993 in the United States. It showed in theaters for a little while, and then it went straight to video, as Karate Man would say. Running time, 87 minutes. I think IMDb has a little longer running time. I'm not sure. Anyways, country, United States. Language, English. Budget, $13 million. Box office, $1.1 million. Wow. I guess you could say Thomas Ian Griffith efforts to copy the success of Steven Seagal were not very fruitful in this. Devastated and enraged by discovering Dylan's body in a landfill, Terry bursts into one of the mob's private clubs looking for DeMarco, assaulting a number of other gangsters in the process. Unable to locate DeMarco that night, Terry breaks into Anna's apartment to get drunk and play her piano. Anna, confused by his unannounced intrusion after 3 months, is angry until Terry reveals that Dylan is dead. Soon after, another detective and friend of his, Frankie, played by the great Tony Todd. Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. Hey, how come Candyman didn't show up? I said Candyman 3 times. Frankie, played by Tony Todd, is also killed in an explosion, and Devlin gives Terry the go-ahead to do whatever needs to be done to avenge the men and put a stop to the murders. That night, Terry breaks into a cocktail lounge owned by the mafia with the intent to kill DeMarco, but he finds himself unable to do it when he sees how pathetic DeMarco is under the threat of death. So somebody just killed your best friend, and you point a gun to Burt Young's face, the person responsible, and you feel sorry for him because he's a miserable, fat Italian dude on the floor. Don't shoot me. He is also surprised when DeMarco tells him to keep the money, indicating he does not have it, and deepening the mystery of where it has gone. It's in Lance Henriksen's refrigerator. The ending to this is just a real letdown, but it doesn't detract from the rest of the movie. Okay? Thomas Ian Griffith is one of the most underrated action stars ever. It's a shame New Line Cinema didn't promote much of the movie. So you're blaming it on New Line Cinema. I thought they wanted him to become the next Steven Seagal. I get what you're saying. The producers, including Thomas Ian Griffith, they wanted him to be the next Steven Seagal, but the distributor blew it. Okay, that makes sense, Karate Man. He's a great martial artist. He was obviously going to be the next Van Damme and Seagal. Same thing to happen to Jeff Speakman. They got bad luck. Unfortunately, that's Hollyweird for you. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I didn't like his other 2 movies, though. This one was much better, I thought. Cracker Jack was kind of, and Hollow Point, yeah, I could take it or leave it. The guy who was riffing this, doing comedic riffs of this on YouTube, he's got kind of a southern accent, and he said there weren't any one-liners in this movie. That was one of his complaints. Another complaint, it was too dark. He said the action scenes were kind of generic. I thought they were decent. I mean, I don't watch Hong Kong action movies all day long like this guy. But I think he's making a false analogy if he's going to say this is a generic movie and he's comparing it, and yet he's comparing it to Hong Kong cinema. That's a whole different genre as far as I'm concerned. So the next morning, Terry and Anna begin to reconcile as they walk together. Oh, this is a highlight of the film where she gets where he gets her in the sack. As they walk together and discuss going away on a trip, Terry spots a newspaper headline announcing that DeMarco has been found dead. Because of witnesses who saw Terry at the cocktail lounge that night, he is named as a suspect in the murder. Jake overhears a radio broadcast about the case that not only names Terry, but also leaks information about Anna, which prompts Terry to rush to her place and make sure that she's all right. A gangster visits her apartment in disguise, and he tries to pull a gun. And after Terry successfully knocks him out, he whisks Anna to a remote farmhouse for her protection. This is the part that I don't understand, because apparently James Earl Jones is the only one who knows about that farmhouse. So how did the bad guys show up all of a sudden? That was a little legitimate question that I didn't really hear James Earl Jones answer. He just said, "Get out of my club. F you, man." Terry and Devlin arrange a meeting. But when Terry arrives, he is ambushed by the mafia. After he escapes, he passes by the Deja Vu Club and he sees Jake talking to a couple of gangsters. The events of the day lead Terry to conclude that Devlin is a dirty cop and that he and Jake have betrayed him. Don't trust that Candyman. Well, police all over the city look for him. Terry visits another one of his friends on the force, Sam, for answers. Sam explains that Devlin and DeMarco had a history of corruption going way back, but he doesn't know what about 1993 corruption. And Terry realizes that Devlin must have had DeMarco killed to prevent his corruption from being revealed when he became police chief. No, pretty clever. Lance Henriksen playing a little hitman game as a police officer. Back at the farmhouse, Anna mends the wounds that Terry acquired in the ambush, and the two have sex. I wish that scene was longer. Anyways, the next morning, they are discovered by the mafia and a shootout ensues. Returning to the city, Terry confronts Jake, who is the only person still alive who knows where the farmhouse is, Dylan and Frankie being the other two. But Jake vehemently denies having betrayed him and kicks Terry out of the club. That scene, I couldn't figure out. I don't know how he vehemently denied his way out of that one, but he likes little kittens, so he must be a good guy. Terry tails Devlin to a hotel where it is revealed that Frankie is still alive. And Frankie was the one that Devlin and the mob for a share of the missing drug money. Since everyone else has failed to kill Terry, Devlin says that Frankie will have to kill him. Frankie, however, is reluctant to kill his old friend. "Don't make me shoot you, man. F you, man." He's holding the gun, and Thomas Ian Griffith just basically snatches it away from him and starts kicking his arse. Later that day, so it's Candyman versus Thomas Ian Griffith. It turns out that Candyman is a big wimp. He likes to snort cocaine and hang out with his girlfriend in her negligee, her underwear, I should say. Later that day, Jake catches Frankie searching Terry's apartment for Anna's address so that he can find Terry and kill him. In the ensuing altercation, Frankie shoots Jake, and Terry arrives in time to call an ambulance and learn from Jake that Frankie is headed toward Anna, who's working on a photo shoot at a friend's place. How did these how did Frankie find out that that Anna was at this photo shoot? There's another plot hole. I didn't understand some of this movie, but I thought the ending was pretty messed up and lame, but 95% of the movie was decent. That's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Uh, Karate Man likes the end credits, but the guy who was riffing comedy on this movie on YouTube, he cut off the end credits, so I had to watch the end credits on another ripped version of this that had some foreign language dubbing on it, even during the end credits. But it kind of went away after the actors' names rolled across the screen. So it was kind of interesting. Uh, Actually, tracking down this film was hard because there's no paid YouTube version of it. Nothing on Tubi or Amazon Prime. So I sort of lucked out. And I had two versions of this, one without the credits, one with the credits, with some foreign dubbing over the first part of the credit. Terry interrupts the shoot and he and Frankie fight until Devlin also shows up, killing Frankie himself and leaving him and Terry to fight 101. Pretty cool fight scene with I like the Lance Henriksen scene where he's like falling off the roof. Pretty decent. Like I said, the guy was complaining that it was too dark right from the start of the movie. But he also admitted that it's one of those so bad that it's good type movies. So I'll put it in that category. Although I thought it was just mindless entertainment, sort of a Karate Man recommendation, typical Karate Man recommendation. So Excessive Force grossed only 1.1 million at the box office, and it became a flop thanks to New Line Cinema, which I praised in the beginning, but Karate Man said they ruined Thomas Ian Griffith's career with their marketing. He didn't become the next Steven Seagal like they were planning. So I guess film distribution is everything in this business. Excessive Force was panned by critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 20% based on reviews from 5 critics. TV Guide gave the film 1 star out of 4, and TV Guide stated, at some point, Excessive Force, which lives up to its title, might have been envisioned as a taut, mysterious, high-action cop thriller. The end result, however, showcases relentless violence over plot, bludgeoning viewers with machine gun fire, bomb blasts, and endless kickboxing battles. I think Thomas Ian Griffith is a decent kickboxer. Joe Layden of Variety wrote, even though New Line is going through the motions with a spotty regional theatrical release, this is what Karate Man's talking about. I always liked New Line movies in general, but Karate Man said they blew the distribution on this. Excessive Force appears headed down the express lane to home vid, where it may find favor with undiscriminating action fans like Karate Man. I was having a tough time finding this movie on YouTube, man. You've got 2 versions. One is an hour 30 minutes of this guy cutting off the end credits and reading off of Wikipedia and IMDb like I'm doing. Then the other one is some foreign dub thing that's unwatchable. But I did watch the end credits for the rock music at the end that Karate Man likes so much. Rich Rosell from Digitally Obsessed gave it a very negative review, stating, all of the dull fistfights and fire explosions can do little to make this any more than it is, which is something we've all seen before and not necessarily something we would want to see again. Christopher Armstead from Film Critics United gave the film mixed review. Excessive Force is not a good movie, and Thomas Ian Griffith did not become a big action star. That makes us sad, even though he's had a nice career. Charlotte Lewis topless and Lance and Tony overacting makes us happier. And this why Excessive Force is in my personal collection. Those are good reasons. Mick Calac, writing at Forever Cinematic, praised some aspects of Excessive Force, concluding Excessive Force is not a great action movie, but it's really good effort that I did like. The script is well written and very well directed by John Hess, but it's really the exceptional acting talents of its admirable cast that allows this movie to be as good as it is. If filled with lesser grade talents, this would really falter, but putting guys like Griffith, Henriksen, Todd, Jones, and more into it gives it some extra substance. They killed off the Burt Young character right in the middle of the movie. That kind of surprised me. And then the movie started going all over the place. Couldn't figure out some of the plot lines here. All right. So IMDb also says an hour and 27 minutes. Gets a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb. 1,500 ratings. So it's not obscure per se, but like I said, it's definitely better than Cracker Jack and Hollow Point. Much better. I don't know if Excessive Force 2 is on my list, but I'll check that in a minute when I pull up my movies list. If I can open it. Ah, there it goes. All right. So I got the movies list going. I've got the Excessive Force IMDb page up. Go through that real quick. I like the DVD cover. Pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of the dark nature of this movie. Just all the dark scenes actually make the movie better, in my opinion. The other guy was complaining that it was too hard to see this because of all the dark scenes. And he said they wasted all the money on James Earl Jones' salary. A group of Chicago cops are involved in a raid from which $3 million the last remaining officer that he will look the other way if he takes the law into his own hands. When the police finds he can't follow through on this and someone else does. Sorry, I have to click on read all here. Bear with me. This is a long plot. All right. And he finds himself and his girl are being hunted by more or less everyone for their own reasons. There you have it. The plot for Excessive Force on IMDb. Karate Man says Excessive Force, for whatever reason, did not get a DVD release here in Australia, not even a Blu-ray. It's on VHS only. So maybe I'm looking at the VHS cover of this thing on IMDb and Wikipedia. It's entirely possible. My movie list is lagging again. Here we go. It popped up and then disappeared. Let's try Excessive Force IMDb homepage. Nope, that's not happening. All right, so next up, coming down the pike, is The Prince and the Nature Girl, 1964. Then I've got Don't Look in the Basement 2 from 2015. Schlock, The Secret History of American Movies, 2001. So that's what's coming down the pike. Let's delete Excessive Force. I'm done with that, almost. I got to go through the IMDb page, though. Yeah, when I say straight to video, I guess I mean not straight to video, but limited edit, a limited theatrical distribution, thanks to New Line Cinema. I guess the New Line Cinema wasn't around for very long. They got bought out by Warner Brothers or something like that. All right. So, I posted the trailer in the description if you want to check out the trailer. I have no idea where you get the movie itself, like Karate Man said. It's probably VHS only. More like this, Cracker Jack, Hollow Point. Cracker Jack is rated lower, and Hollow Point is rated higher. So if I were to rate the three Thomas Ian Griffith movies that I've seen so far, I would say Excessive Force number 1, Hollow Point number 2, and Cracker Jack number 3, dead last. New Line Cinema was hoping that lead actor Thomas Ian Griffith would become a studio stable star, similar to then future owner Warner's then arrangement with Steven Seagal. So it was the distributor, not the production company, that wanted Thomas Ian Griffith to become the next Steven Seagal. I was correct in the beginning. But Karate Man, for some reason, blames New Line Cinema for poor distribution. He doesn't blame Thomas Ian Griffith, even though he's got his fingerprints all over this. In the production, writing, the music, the acting. I mean, he's all over this. When approaching the crime scene at the garbage dump, the coroner has already laid out a body bag next to the dead body. For the close-up, however, the same body bag is being placed next to the body. This is another brutal scene where you see the dead body in the garbage dump. Quotes, Terry McCain, give it up. Hitman number 2, F you. There's got to be like 100 FUs in this movie. Terry McCain follows up FU with, oh, that's original. So there was a one-liner, oh, that's original. He's probably sick of hearing FU in this movie for the 50th time. Oh, that's original. The UK version was cut by 26 seconds with edits to kick some punches, a man's head being pushed through a car window, a dustbin lid beating, and a man's legs being hit with a baseball bat. That was a cringe scene for me right there. Burt Young doesn't mess around. The cuts, he wants his money. He wants his $3 million. The cuts were fully waived for the DVD release. So this one did get a DVD release, just not on, not in Australia, apparently. This is followed by Excessive Force 2, Force on Force, 1995. I'm going to double check to see whether Karate Man has recommended that, and could be on my list. It's available on Amazon Prime. Soundtracks, The Pigeon on the Gate, traditional, performed by James Earl, courtesy of Rego Records, but that's not the one in the end credits that Karate Man likes so much. He's into this rock band. All right, here's a review from Jordan Dave -28085, dated May 11, 2023. This person is giving it a 5 out of 10 rating, which is about average for this film. Mediocre at best and takes a back seat to better action films. The guy on YouTube said Hong Kong films have better action. 1993, Excessive Force action, straight to rental movie. No, it's not. It had a limited theatrical release. Written, co-produced, and starring Thomas Ian Griffith as, oh, you forgot the music. As Terry McCain, as a Dirty Harry type of cop, he uses excessive force on some of his most hated captures. So this is a Dirty Harry Steven Seagal ripoff during a drug bust mayhem, which resulted to have many guys getting killed. Someone steals gangster Sal DeMarco's Burt Young's money of $3 million. We don't know who it is because nothing is revealed until the middle of the movie. And after he was acquitted, he pursues the people he suspects who may have taken it, which was McCain's partner. So right there, we know there's some police corruption if we understand that if we're paying close attention to who's a dirty cop or who might be a dirty cop. And even though they killed the cop, he was never charged. For McCain seeks retribution because it's labeled as an action film. I have to say that Thomas Ian Griffith fights pretty good. I agree with you. You're in the minority, though. But instead of using sound effects, which might have made those fight scenes much more believable, we are giving people grunting instead, as well as uncharismatic camera angles, since the camera sort of just stands there. There are more fight scenes than gun ones, which are obviously inspired by John Woo's hardcore gun movies. So once again, we're comparing it to a Hong Kong film. As a matter of fact, despite the good ending, I thought it was a terrible ending. The action in general is mediocre at best, despite some good performances by James Earl Jones and Lance Henriksen. So on the one hand, he's saying Thomas Ian Griffith fights pretty good, but he's saying the camera work and the sound effects sort of ruin it. Karate Man says Burt Young's character is the same name as me, Salvatore. All right, so if I ever go to Australia, I'll be sure not to mess with Salvatore. You might whack my knees with a baseball bat. Excessive Force got a direct-to-video sequel, but no relation to the first one. It's got Stacey Randall instead of Thomas Ian Griffith. Technically, it's not a proper sequel. It's just in name only. I thought I already mentioned that. I don't even know if I have it on my list. I'm going to double check right now. Maybe Karate Man did actually recommend that. Non-sequel sequel. He did. It's 834 on my list. Karate Man is on top of things here. I'm impressed. I would not use the bat. Karate Man's not a violent person. He just watches violent movies. It has no effect on his personality. All right, cool. Well, that's the end of my review. Nice chatting with you, Karate Man. Thanks for the recommendation. This is one of your better recommendations, I will say. When you say Thomas Ian Griffith is underrated, I guess you're talking about this movie, Laters.